All right, welcome back. This is my rant video, finally, on quantitative easing. Still recording in the car because of our chickens at home. Just got done in the gym. Gonna get my day started. It's gonna be a good day. But I said I would talk about this, and I wanted to. I'm gonna give you guys my opinion on it. I would encourage you to go look this statement, phrase up, this operation. I first learned about it over a year ago, I believe, from a great alternative media outlet called America Uncovered. They also do China Uncensored. It's the same team. They have 2 channels on YouTube. They're on other platforms, but they're fairly centered, and they do a very good job of just giving you the facts of the day corroborated by other sources. I don't know if I said that right, corroborated. Anyhow, I first learned about this over a year ago. And what quantitative easing is effectively just a fancy term for printing money, okay? If you've been paying attention at all, if you've been paying attention at all, you know that last week or 3 weeks ago, I'm not sure of the time, they just gave $1.5 trillion to banks. Okay, let's say that again. $1.5 trillion to banks. Where is that cash coming from? Where is that currency coming from? Well, it's actually coming from quantitative easing, which is just printing money. Now, I said I didn't want to talk about politics on this channel, but I don't know how to talk about quantitative easing without dipping my toe in it. So what I'm going to try to do is be as dispassionate as I possibly can concerning politicians, political parties, etc., because the truth is quantitative easing, it supersedes Democrat, Republican, Obama, Trump, liberal, conservative, libertarian, socialist. It supersedes all that. This is really a national issue that the only way it can be fixed is ultimately through us, through the economy. I'm going to explain here in a second. But, quick history. From what I've gathered, quantitative easing started in the second term of President Obama. So what happened was, in the second term of President Obama, you have to understand the previous president, which was Bush II. Bush II was during the mortgage crisis. They bailed out Wall Street and big banks. It ended up being a land grab because the people that lost their homes, the note got paid for by the tax dollars, and the bank got to keep the property. So that I would do research on that, but it ended up being a total land grab and a theft job. But basically what happened was, to keep that market bubble from exploding, there was a big downturn. Don't get me wrong, the economy did go down to a certain extent. But when the government came in at midnight, effectively, and bailed everything out, what actually happened is they put that bubble on like a life support. And effectively what happened is, because no president wants to be the president during a bad economy. So effectively what happened is that, and Peter Schiff, I think it's Schiff, who did a video, I Am the 1%. He's a very knowledgeable guy. I agree with him on some things, disagree on others. But Peter Schiff has said it best. They basically propped up this bubble, this mortgage crisis bubble, with tax dollars. And the reason why that is because if it did burst, there would have been drastic repercussions for not only Wall Street, big banks, but also for Main Street. The issue, though, is that part of capitalism is that every 10 years, roughly, there does need to be a reset or a downturn where the market hits a certain peak. And because of that, Minskyism is actually, I think I'm saying his name right, Minskyism. He was an accountant that wrote a book that basically said that with economic stability and strength, it tends to push people towards taking greater and greater risk and gambling more and more until finally they gamble too much and then the market drops off and effectively resets. The point is this. When Bush II bailed out Wall Street twice and big banks, it kept that bubble going and petering along. When President Obama came into office, He dealt with the aftermath of the Iraq War. And again, I'm not disparaging any president here. I'm just trying to speak about what happened. He was dealing with the aftermath of the Iraq War, the amount of money that the Americans, taxpayers spent on that. And then on top of that, he had to deal with Big Auto, which was failing. And of course, President Obama actually bailed out, we know he bailed out Big Auto with the exception of Ford, I believe. And I think he bailed them out twice. I think he cut them 2 checks. The point is this. At some point in his presidency, the economy was either headed towards a downturn again or just falling off the cliff. Excuse me. So what effectively happened, and I am paraphrasing, I am shortening this, I would encourage you to go do some research for yourself, because what I'm saying is factual to my knowledge, but I am leaving stuff out. So it is important you understand that. But in his second term, he basically put forth a plan that within it had quantitative easing, which is where the Federal Reserve was going to print money and slowly inject it into Wall Street and into big business to keep the market going. Here's what's interesting about that. And again, I'm not disparaging President Obama. Here's what's interesting about that. Nothing has changed with President Trump. He has kept it going quietly right along. Now, the issue with that is this, and I'm going to speak to 2 points. I'm going to speak to one, people who are excited about President Trump and who are loving his economy. We have to understand 2 things. One of the reasons that his economy is going strong is because he has continued a policy that actually started with President Obama. Now, I don't think it's good. I think it's a bad idea. It's a short-term fix that's creating vast, big, long-term problems. One of my friends said it's going to bankrupt the nation. I agree with him. Ironically, he thinks the economy is going great, and it's not going great. This is all fraudulent. What's going on with our government printing money and basically falsifying the market by putting cash into the market? It's not a good economy. It's actually fraudulent. They're basically cooking the books to a certain degree. And really, one of the good things that's come out of the coronavirus is that because of the global effect by the virus, the economy has taken a downturn, which organically we have to have that anyways. Having said that, I'm not disparaging President Obama, nor am I disparaging President Trump. But it is important that we talk about the fact that for those Trumpers out there who love President Trump and what he's doing, a lot of what he's doing, guys, is just carryover from the previous president, and it isn't good. It's not helping us. It will bankrupt us. The Federal Reserve, under the direction of the president and his administration, again, starting with President Obama, they are printing more of our cash, more of our currency, which only lowers its value. That's all it does. And on top of that, we have the student loan crisis. On top of that, now they're talking about giving people $1,000 to $2,000 a month because people can't go to work because of fear of the coronavirus, et cetera, et cetera. You have to ask yourself, where's that money coming from? Where's that cash coming from? It's easy. It's coming from the Federal Reserve that is printing money. That's it. That's all that's happening. And it is utterly wrecking our future financially. It's a great short-term fix. It really is. It's a fantastic short-term fix, but it's absolutely wrecking our long-term financial prosperity. Unless we can rectify it here quickly and take the brunt of what's going on and have a true organic downturn. My brother said this about Wall Street, which is true. He said right now the stock market and Wall Street's on sale, which is true. And this is something that's needed to happen for a while. I think Disney 4 weeks ago was like $150, $160. Now it's like $90 or something. I mean, it's fantastic for someone who wants to get in and invest to grow their money. I mean, if there's not going to be a sharp uptick or upturn, there will be a strong gradual upturn, which is fantastic. But again, we have to have that organic cycle of growth and then downturn, growth and then downturn. We have to have that. And when your government, in this case our government, starts printing more currency to keep the economy going, because no president, no administration wants to be historically the president where the economy went down. When they're printing money to keep the economy going and keep this robust bull-like thing happening, bull market going, it's effectively fraudulent. And again, this supersedes Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative. This is a national issue that at the end of the day is going to affect us, Main Street, anyone who makes $90,000 and less, it's going to affect us. Here in the great state of Indiana, I believe I'm correct, if you make $250,000 a year, you're considered the 1% here in the great state of Indiana. Individuals like that, probably not going to affect too much unless they've been absolutely stupid with their money. They haven't paid off their debt. They haven't invested correctly. They don't have conservative options like rentals or income annuities, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to do a talk about investments at a later time, at least what my wife and I are going to do. But for people like me, for people probably like you, this is going to greatly affect us in the future to an extent that will be, it could be as bad as, the Wall Street crash, I believe, of 29, if that's the right date. I'm not sure. And all the while, this is what's very interesting, all the while this terrible thing's happening, people are celebrating this economy, which I understand to a certain extent we can. There is growth, there is movement. But you have to understand a big reason that the economy is moving forward is because our government is basically taking our tax dollars, printing money, and sending it into big business, which is what happened with big banks getting $1.5 trillion, et cetera, et cetera. Again, you have to ask yourself why. Where is that money coming from? It just didn't appear out of thin air. Or we didn't discover a vault in Mount Rushmore that had $1.5 trillion. Our Federal Reserve printed that cash and gave it to them, or borrowed against possible future earnings from Social Security, or et cetera, et cetera. So this is what's happening right now in our country. Quantitative easing is real. It's fraudulent. Our market isn't as good as they're saying, and really the coronavirus is revealing that, because international trade, to the extent that we've done it as far as international dependence on China, is showing how weak it is, how terrible it actually is, and how really we have to really be able to make more of our own goods. We can't rely on a foreign nation, especially a communist nation, to really be the manufacturing global hub of the world. That's foolish, and we're seeing that now. And that's one positive that's coming out of the coronavirus. Having said that, we are setting ourselves up for failure with quantitative easing, because all we're doing is printing money. That's all we're doing. It is fraudulent. You could consider it evil, because it's only going to hurt future generations. Here's my solution. I'm not a Wall Street guy. I don't have a Series 6. But I do believe, and I stand by my statement, we are the economy. Here's my solution. The federal government is driving us quickly off of a cliff by printing more money. Big banks and Wall Street are going right along with it, because they're the ones that get the cash injections. Not us, although we may start getting it, with $1,000 or $2,000 a month. Andrew Yang wanted to do he ended up changing it to the freedom dividend, but basically a monthly stipend. Of course, Alaska's been doing that for a while. But where's that money going to come from? Again, I would look all this up. Effectively, they're just going to print more money and or borrow against Social Security or something else. Anyways, I believe the solution to our economic woes, which right now we have economic woes, we have serious problems. We're just choosing not to look at it because everything supposedly is going well, which it is for the short term right now. The long term, it is terrible. It is awful. Anyways, the solution, I believe, is that we as Main Street, we as the working class, blue collar, upper blue collar, lower end white collar work, we need to take control of our money and our finances and pull away the authority and pull away the unchecked power that really Wall Street has had over the American consumer, the American investor, and the American Main Street for the last 35 years. Every terrible thing that's come from that's affected our country financially, its origin starts in Wall Street and its federal partners, and or vice versa. Again, this supersedes Democrat, it supersedes Republican, liberal, conservative. Your political ideology is irrelevant. We're talking about people at the top who don't care about anyone at the bottom, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, want to print money, want to keep their legacy going as far as being the president under a good economy, okay? Or I'm sorry, being the president over a good economy, excuse me. They don't care about us. We have to take control of our money, pay off all of our debt, be as liquid as possible, don't have a lot of cash in the bank. That's foolish, because you're giving a bank your cash, which they use that money plus the cash they're getting from the federal government, which is basically against our tax dollars, so they're double dipping effectively. You're giving them your cash to loan out money to people, which is good, to loan out money. They're making loads of interest, and you're getting 0.0015%. Correct me on that. I don't know what the interest rate currently is on a savings account. I know it's abysmally low. We have to get serious and aggressive about our money and taking control back from these nut jobs in the federal government and on Wall Street. Fact, that's all there is to it. Everything they've done hurts us in the long run. All of this, and again, I'm not trying to get political, but all this deregulation and taking, giving people tax breaks. When I was still employed with the educational company, the tax break that the Trump administration, President Donald Trump, the tax break that he gave, it increased my monthly earnings by maybe $100 a month. In the long haul, we know that those tax benefits are only going to help really the upper echelon, and it's actually going to hurt us because we're effectively defunding for the future what's happening. That's an oversimplification. I understand, but that is factual. Now, I think the hope is when they do that people have more money, they'll spend more money, create more economic movement, which will create growth, which will hopefully solve the problem later. There's plenty of evidence to show anytime they do any type of stimulus, it doesn't actually help the economy. Either in the short term or the long term, it doesn't. It actually only hurts it because we're borrowing against it. That's another video, really, for someone far more competent to talk about that. But my whole focus with this channel is I want to encourage people to take control and feel better about their money and their future and their finances and their jobs or their business by taking control. And we cannot take control if we are worshiping at the altar of Wall Street, worshiping at the altar of the federal government. Oh, they're gonna solve all of our problems. Oh, all we got to do is invest in Disney. We're gonna make lots of money. Or the federal government, they're gonna start cutting $1,000 checks every week. Oh God, they're here for us. No, they're not. No, they're not. You are here for you. You are here for your family, and vice versa, and the community that you're a part of. We have to take control. We are the economy. They are literally alive because of the money we spend in the immediate now, as well as the money they're borrowing against our Social Security and or just printing in general for the future. My wife and I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to tell you what my wife and I do. So, and then if it resonates within you, I would encourage you to do it. My wife and I's experience, we put all of our expenses on a credit card. We have 1 or 2 payments at the end of the month out of our checking account. Whatever's left over, we save or we put on debt, okay? We're about $2,000 away from our savings goal. I want to have as little money in savings as possible. The rest of my free cash is going towards debt and it's going towards investment. We're going to run lean and mean. We're not going to have thousands and thousands of dollars in a bank account somewhere where they're loaning it out and making loads of interest, and all the while we're getting 0.00 whatever percent. That's garbage. We're not going to do that. Our money's going to work harder for us by attacking our debt and building our future through investment and through retirement planning. Okay? Everything that you need to do as far as solving the problems of the nation, solving your own problems, is found in your cash. Now, you have to get a mindset that's right, and you got to feel right in your heart and in your, in your inner man. You got to feel good and powerful, but your tool to make your life better is your cash. Your tool to make this nation better is your cash. Why are we leaving it in banks? And why are we allowing our government to print money, basically borrowing against our cash at 0% interest, and effectively screwing us over in the future? That's what effectively quantitative easing is. It's printing money and it's screwing us over. We got to take control back. Liquidate, baby. Pay off all your debt. Owe nothing to no one. Do not be the borrower, be the lender. When that happens, Your back, a friend of mine was making fun of me. Your back's up off the wall. You can ponder the stars. You're not starving to eat. You're not literally living paycheck to paycheck. I know people that make $150,000, $180,000 a year. They're literally living paycheck to paycheck because they've won. They haven't paid their debt off. They're overextended, and they're just making bad choices with their money. We have to take responsibility. At some point, there has to be a generation in America that will resemble the greatest generation, that'll raise their hand and say, I'll take that hit. I'll take that hit for future generations. I hope it's my generation. I believe the millennial generation has the heart for that. I think we got to get stronger. I think we also have to become wiser and understand more. We're at a time in the history of humanity where we know more than ever before, but I think we understand even less than ever. So we have to increase our understanding, but the fact of the matter is, what's going to solve this problem is if, I don't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, socialist, libertarian, whatever, we have to take control of our money and stop hoping that Wall Street and the federal government have the answers. They don't. We do. We have the answer. All their answers are awful. You can look at all of them. NAFTA just eviscerated manufacturing in America, destroyed it. Now those companies employ slaves in Mexico and China. All of our federal government policies have been influenced by big banks and Wall Street. Okay, whether Republican or Democrat, it's irrelevant. And it's always hurt us in the long run. Now, some of that is organic. As automation increases, as globalization increases, these companies do have to find a way to stay competitive, and I get that. But we're seeing the downside of having so much manufacturing in China, and really the downside of international globalism in general. When something like this, a global event, happens, it literally, if you're like me and your town is basically shut down, so the government has slammed on the brakes because of this terrible virus that's going on, and they're making things worse. In my honest opinion, that's a different discussion about the virus, but in my honest opinion, they're making things worse. We have to take control. Their solution is print more money. They're cheating us. They're lying to us. Listen, guys, and if you think that it's a Republican thing, you're a fool. If you think that it's a Democrat conspiracy, you're a fool. They don't care about that. That's all a show. We are in charge. We don't know it, and we are really a sleeping giant. And they're doing everything they can to keep us distracted with, oh, Trump is bad, and oh, Obama. I used to work at a company, and a guy called me one time and tried to tell me that Obama was the Antichrist. I said, sir, what are you talking about, man? He said, well, Barack means like crash like lightning or something like that. I could be wrong. Anyone who knows that, correct me in the comments. And, it said the Antichrist is going to crash like a bolt of lightning. I said, sir, I don't think you know what you're talking about at all. I mean, this is the insanity that we're dealing with. All the while we're talking about evil Trump and Barack's the Antichrist and America's racist or not racist, all the while they're taking our wealth, and here you go, keep taking our cash. And it's both sides. I don't care if you're a pro-Trumper or you're an anti-Trumper. The anti-Trumpers are all about increasing government spending, free college, this, all this, that, yada, yada, yada. The pro-Trumpers like, you know what? You know who needs less money? Big oil. Or you know who needs less taxes? Big oil. Let's do it. Trickle down works. It's all fraudulent, guys. It's all fraudulent. They want our cash. They want us subjugated. Let's break free. Let's break free. Get debt free. Own everything. Invest your money. Run lean. Run mean. I'm telling you guys, that's what my wife and I are doing and what we have been doing. We're in a position where we have, the only debt we really have is our house. And right now we're developing and formulating a plan to pay that off as fast as possible. And the next step for us, for me, we've kept our credit separate. I'm going to talk about that in another video. The next step for us is me buying rentals, investment properties, and or starting a business. Another business that can create income on the side, because ultimately everything is about income. Take control. Quantitative easing it's the devil, to quote Bobby Boucher's mother. It's the devil. Look it up for yourself. They're terrible. They are awful. The federal government, Wall Street, big banks, they're all terrible. Stop thinking they're going to solve your problems. They're only going to make it worse. Fact. This has been my rant.